My name is Evelyn Hudson, and I'm 28 years old. If you had met me 2 years ago, you would have called me practical, maybe even selfless. I believed in love the way you believe in sunrise, steady, inevitable worth sacrificing for. Back then, my boyfriend Marcus was my world. We had been together for 5 years, and when he was accepted into law school, I convinced myself it was our joint victory. His dream became my mission. The tuition was crushing far beyond what his scholarships or his family could cover, and so I stepped in. I worked endless overtime hours at my engineering firm. I took on freelance coding contracts late at night, staring at glowing screens until my eyes blurred. Every paycheck I split into two piles, enough to cover rent and survival, and the other his tuition. Each transfer carried hope. Every check I mailed felt like laying a brick in the foundation of the life we were building together. I still remember one of his texts. It was during his second year. "Evelyn, you're an actual angel. This 12 grand for this semester saved me. I swear on my future career, I'll pay you back every single cent with interest. One day we'll buy a house and you'll never regret this." I had saved that message like a treasure proof that all the sacrifices were not blind devotion, but a pact between us. For a long time, I told myself this wasn't just money. It was an investment in our future, in us. But then the graduation came. Marcus walked across the stage in his black gown, smiling radiant. I sat in the audience, clapping proud blind to the storm that was already waiting. 3 weeks later, he told me he needed space. His words were polished, rehearsed like a courtroom speech. He claimed stress had changed him. He wanted time to reevaluate. I swallowed my hurt and told him I wished him well. I thought the pain had reached its peak until my phone buzzed a week later. It wasn't from Marcus, it was from Clara. Clara, his ex-girlfriend, the one he had sworn was firmly in the past, someone I had never considered a threat. Her message was venom wrapped in sweetness. "Thanks for paying Marcus's law school tuition. He and I both appreciate it. Enjoy your life, Evelyn. LOL." I stared at it for so long the words imprinted in my vision. My stomach twisted. The audacity. The smug little laugh at the end, the mockery of everything I had sacrificed. They weren't just together again, they were gloating. My years of sacrifice had been reduced to a punchline. My first instinct was to rage, to scream, to throw my phone across the room. My hands trembled with fury. But something inside me, something cold, sharper than any heartbreak, took hold. I didn't reply with anger. Instead, I typed back just 2 words. "You're welcome." And then I set the phone down. I sat in the quiet of my apartment, the silence heavy but clarifying. The anger crystallized into something steadier resolve. If they thought I would roll over and vanish, they didn't know me at all. I opened my laptop. My fingers hovered for a moment, then began to move. Bank transfers, screenshots, old emails, text messages, every scrap of evidence. I would document it all, every cent, every promise. If Marcus thought he could step into his new life funded by my sacrifices without consequence, he was about to learn what I had learned long ago: the most dangerous person isn't the one who screams. It's the one who goes silent and starts planning. That night, under the glow of my desk lamp, I whispered to myself, "You told me to enjoy my life. I will. But first, you'll pay me back every last cent." The morning after Clara's text, I woke with a new kind of clarity. The heartbreak was still there, coiled deep in my chest, but it had sharpened into something useful, a weapon. I brewed coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and opened my laptop. The screen's glow illuminated stacks of folders I hadn't touched in years. I had kept everything, every wire transfer, every bank statement, every screenshot of Marcus thanking me and promising to repay. At the time, I saved them out of sentimentality. Now they were ammunition. One by one, I began compiling a file. Tuition transfers labeled. For Marcus, Semester 1. For Marcus, Bar Prep. Cashier's checks I had mailed directly to his university. Screenshots of his late-night gratitude texts. "Evelyn, I owe you everything. Someday I'll make this right." Even casual messages where he'd call my contributions our future fund. By the time I was done, the total sat at $48,572.33. That number felt both surreal and infuriating. It wasn't just money, it was hundreds of hours of my life. It was birthdays, I skipped vacations, I never took evenings, I spent coding instead of resting. I crafted my first move with precision and email. No emotion, no pleading, just professionalism. Subject: outstanding financial agreement body. Marcus, as per our prior discussions and documented messages, I am requesting your proposed repayment plan for the $48,572.33. I contributed toward your law school tuition and related expenses. Please respond within 7 business days. If I do not receive a substantive proposal, I will assume you require a more formal approach to repayment. I read it twice before clicking send. It felt like sliding the first chess piece across the board. Hours later, my phone rang. The caller ID froze me. Eleanor Hartwell, Marcus's mother. Her voice came sharp, dripping with disdain. Evelyn, how dare you send such a disgusting email to my son? After everything you two had, now you're trying to extort him. This is harassment. I held the phone steady. My voice was calm, almost detached. Mrs. Hartwell, I supported Marcus through law school under the clear agreement that he would repay me. I have documented proof of this arrangement. She scoffed. He has Clara now. He doesn't need your grubby money. Move on. The line clicked dead before I could answer. Minutes later, another message lit up my phone. This time from Clara. A single sentence. Wow. Real classy. Trying to ruin his life because he upgraded sad. The gall nearly made me laugh. Upgraded. They thought love was a brand new car you could trade in once the mileage got too high. Then Marcus himself called. I braced as his voice burst through the line, all heat and venom. Are you actually serious, Evelyn? You think I'm going to let you pull this stunt? If you keep this up, you'll regret it. I could hear Clara in the background, her laughter faint but cutting. I closed my eyes, let his words hang in the air, then said evenly, I have every record, Marcus, every promise, every transfer. This isn't a stunt. This is me holding you to your word. A heavy silence followed, then a sharp inhale. He hung up. I sat there, phone still in hand, my heart racing. But instead of fear, a slow, quiet smile spread across my face. They thought they could intimidate me. They thought they could drown me in shame or guilt, but they had no idea who I was when cornered. That night, I spread out the folder of evidence across my dining table. The documents formed a fortress around me, each page a shield. I whispered again, steady and calm. This isn't revenge. This is accountability. The game had begun. The silence didn't last long. A week after my email, an envelope slid under my apartment door. I tore it open, expecting maybe a reply, maybe even a proposal. Instead, I found a letter embossed with a firm's logo, Thompson Klein & Associates. The words inside dripped arrogance. Our client, Marcus Hartwell, denies any financial obligation. The alleged funds were gifts given freely as part of your romantic relationship. Your continued demands constitute harassment and malicious interference. Cease all contact or face legal action. I laughed out loud. A bitter, humorless sound that startled even me. Gifts. That was the word they were going to hide behind. As if years of promises written in his own hand could be erased with a single lie. I knew I needed backup. That same afternoon, I walked into the office of Mr. Davies, a local debt recovery lawyer recommended by a colleague. His office smelled of old books and coffee lined with shelves of case files like war trophies. He adjusted his glasses as I laid out my folder, every transfer, every text neatly labeled. He leafed through it, slowly nodding. Your documentation is excellent, he said finally. This letter from their side, pure noise. They're hoping you'll back down. He looked me square in the eyes. Do not back down. His plan was simple, but lethal. Send a formal demand letter, certified mail, giving Marcus 30 days to pay or propose a real repayment plan or face civil court. The next morning, I mailed it myself. The letter felt heavy in my hands, as if it carried not just paper, but years of sacrifice, betrayal, and resolve. Watching the postal clerk stamp it gave me a surge of grim satisfaction. The countdown had begun. But Marcus and Clara weren't done playing games. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a new message. Not from Marcus this time, but from Brianna, Clara's best friend. Wow, Evelyn. Real rotten thing to do. Trying to drag Marcus down because he moved on pathetic. David says you'll be squashed in court. David. That must have been Clara's wealthy new man, the one she had flaunted in that first text. Their confidence in him was almost comical. That evening, another call came through. Marcus again. His voice was quieter this time, but sharp as glass. You think this makes you strong? Sending letters. Dragging lawyers into this. All it proves is you're bitter. I let him talk, let him spit venom, and when he finally paused, I said evenly, Marcus, I don't need to prove I'm strong. I just need to prove you owe me, and I already have. The line went dead. The following week brought another attempt at insult disguised as compromise. A text this time from Clara herself. Fine, Marcus will pay you back, but only $100 a month. Take it or leave it. I stared at the screen in disbelief. $100 a month for nearly $49,000. It would take him more than 40 years. No interest, no accountability, nothing but an insult wrapped in mock concern. I crafted my reply with surgical precision. Marcus, $100 per month is not a commercially reasonable offer given your earning potential as a law graduate. I am willing to discuss a structured plan with reasonable interest. If you fail to respond with seriousness within 10 business days, I will proceed with legal action, including notifying the Bar Admissions Committee of your outstanding financial obligations. I knew that last part would hit where it hurt. Financial irresponsibility, dishonesty. It could cost him his legal career before it even began. And I wanted him to know I wasn't bluffing. That night, as the city lights flickered outside my window, I sat with my folder of evidence spread before me. Each document was no longer just proof it was a blade. Clara's smugness, Eleanor's fury, Marcus's arrogance, they had forged this war. And I would finish it. 10 days passed. No repayment plan, no genuine offer, just silence. Then a new email arrived. The subject line carried the name of a different law firm, Chambers and Dunn, LLP. This wasn't Marcus or Clara hiding behind angry texts anymore. This was their real counterstrike. The lawyer's tone was polished, almost sympathetic. Miss Hudson, our client, wishes to resolve this amicably. She is under immense emotional distress, which is impacting her bar exam preparation. Without admission of liability, she is willing to offer you a one-time settlement of $10,000. $10,000 for nearly $50. They framed it like charity as though I should be grateful. I sat at my desk staring at the screen, the words blurring with the fury building inside me. Emotional distress. Her distress. They had mocked me, gloated, tried to intimidate me, and now they wanted pity. I printed the email, carried it to my balcony, and set it alight. I watched the paper curl and blacken in the wind, sparks drifting into the night. 10,000 wouldn't buy me silence. Days later, another message arrived, this time from the same lawyer, but the tone had shifted, less arrogant, more measured. Revised settlement proposal, $35,000 to be paid over 5 years without interest. We believe this represents a fair compromise. I read it carefully. They were climbing higher. From denial to 10 now, 35. Proof they were nervous. Proof they knew the evidence was ironclad. But 5 years no interest, still an insult. I drafted my reply with a steadiness that surprised even me. Your offer is rejected. My position remains firm. Full repayment of $48, $572.33, plus reasonable accrued interest. Maximum repayment period of 3 years. Failure to meet this demand will result in immediate filing of a civil claim with full disclosure of supporting evidence to the Bar Admissions Committee. I CC'd Marcus. I wanted him to see every word. That night I met with Sarah, a mutual acquaintance. We hadn't spoken in months, but when she slid into the cafe booth, her eyes were full of quiet sympathy. I heard what's happening, she said softly. I'm sorry, Evelyn. I told her the short version, showed her Clara's gloating text. Sarah winced. Marcus. He's not what they make him sound like. Clara likes to brag, but the truth. He's already drowning in debt. David, the so-called rich boyfriend, he's careful with his money. He won't bail her out. Not for this. Something clicked inside me. Clara's smugness. Eleanor's desperation. It wasn't confidence. It was bluffing. They were betting everything on Marcus looking more powerful than he really was, and I was about to call their bluff. A week later, Marcus showed up at a cafe where I sometimes worked. He slid into the chair across from me without asking. His suit was sharp, but his eyes gave him away tired, strained. You've made your point, he said, his voice low. But this, dragging it out. It's pathetic. You're obsessed. I sipped my coffee unfazed. I'm not obsessed, Marcus. I'm organized. His jaw clenched. If you keep pushing, I'll... I held up my phone, its screen quietly glowing. The red recording dot blinked. Careful, I said. Threats don't play well in court. His face went pale. He stood abruptly, knocking the chair back. You'll regret this, he hissed before storming out. The recording saved itself to my cloud before the cafe door even closed behind him. Another blade in my arsenal. 3 days later, the email I had been waiting for landed in my inbox. The subject line, conditional acceptance of terms. Our client Marcus Hartwell conditionally accepts your terms. Principal $48, $572.33. Interest negotiable repayment over 36 months with acceleration clause. Agreement subject to final interest calculation and settlement wording. I stared at the words until they blurred. My hand shook on the mouse. This wasn't triumph, not yet, but it was close. The fortress I had built, every receipt, every message, every sleepless night had held. They had no choice left but to fold. And for the first time in months, I felt a sliver of peace. The agreement was finalized within 2 weeks. Mr. Davies reviewed every clause, every decimal point of interest. When he slid the signed papers across his desk toward me, I ran my hand over the thick pages. It felt heavier than paper should, like a verdict, like justice. Marcus had agreed full repayment of $48,000, $572.33, plus 4% annual interest, 36 months. Acceleration clause if he missed a payment. No escape, no loopholes. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about recognition, about forcing him to admit what he owed, not just financially, but morally. The first payment arrived the following month. A direct transfer, $1,450.16. On time, down to the minute. I stared at the number on my banking app, then closed it. No celebration, no champagne, just the steady rhythm of accountability beginning its course. News traveled fast. Sarah. My quiet source told me Clara had walked away from Marcus weeks after the settlement. She called him damaged goods, Sarah whispered over the phone. Said she doesn't invest in baggage. Baggage. That's what my sacrifice had been reduced to in her eyes. But now it was baggage Marcus had to carry, not me. I heard Marcus pass the bar exam, but the victory was hollow. His first job was at a small local firm, low pay, long hours, grunt work. He had imagined himself in corporate towers, 6 figures rolling in. Instead, most of his salary funneled back to me, one payment at a time. Eleanor, his mother, had gone silent. No more angry calls. No more accusations. Perhaps shame kept her quiet. Perhaps she realized I wasn't the villain in her story, her son was. Clara vanished from my radar. The woman who once gloated over text was now just an echo, a ghost of a cruel laugh I no longer feared. And me, I began to breathe again. I still remember the evening I allowed myself to step out of the war zone. A quiet dinner with Thomas, an architect I had met through work. He was kind in the simplest ways, pulling out a chair, asking about my day, listening without judgment. No grand gestures, just peace. Over pasta, I told him only the basics that I'd been through, something ugly, but I was finally free of it. He squeezed my hand across the table, his smile warm. Sounds like she wasn't worth your time, he said simply. Good for you. Pizza night this Friday. I laughed. It felt strange, foreign, like a sound I hadn't made in months. Pizza night, normalcy, exactly what I needed. But even in those small joys, the past lingered. Each monthly payment from Marcus was a reminder not of loss, but of the cage he had built for himself brick by brick with my receipts. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't spite. It was balance. A year passed. Seasons turned, deadlines came and went, but one thing remained constant, the transfer. Every month, on the very last day possible, a payment landed in my account. $1,450.06. Not a cent late, not a cent short. Marcus was nothing if not punctual when his career depended on it. Each transfer was a quiet echo of his betrayal, a reminder carved into my bank statement that actions have weight and debts are not erased by arrogance. Sometimes I reread Clara's original message, her smug words, still saved in my phone. Thanks for paying Marcus's law school tuition. Enjoy your life. LOL. I used to tremble with rage when I saw it. Now it made me smile, because I was enjoying my life, more than she could imagine. Sarah told me Clara had left Marcus 2 months after the settlement. David, the rich man, had vanished just as quickly. Apparently he had laughed at the mess, telling her he didn't invest in damaged goods. After that, Clara disappeared into silence. No more mocking texts, no more threats, just nothing. Marcus, meanwhile, kept grinding. He passed the bar, yes, but the glory was missing. He was stuck in a modest firm, reviewing documents, chasing small clients, scraping by under the weight of his monthly debt to me. Every check he sent was both a lifeline for his career and a chain around his ankles. As for me, my life expanded. The payments went straight into investments, into savings, into the foundation of a future I was finally building for myself. A new apartment filled with warm light and quiet corners where peace lived. And then there was Thomas. Gentle, steady Thomas. We didn't need grand declarations or borrowed promises. Our evenings were simple pizza wine laughter. The kind of simplicity that feels like luxury when you've lived too long in chaos. One night, standing on my balcony with Thomas's arm around me, I whispered into the cool night air, "You told me to enjoy my life, Marcus, and I am." The city lights shimmered like witnesses. This wasn't revenge, this wasn't cruelty, it was balance. Justice not delivered with fire and fury, but with direct deposits. The cage Marcus built wasn't mine anymore, it was his.